Okay, in chapter 5, we're going to be looking at radical and rational functions. So for 5.1, day 1, we're going to introduce rational exponents. Rational is just fractions. This is a fractional exponent, and nth roots. Okay, here's the definition of nth root. If I do x to the 1 over n, that's the nth root of x. Okay, we say the nth root of x. If this is a 3, we say the third root of x. If it's a 4, we say the fourth root of x. If the index is blank, as it often is, that means the square root of x. Okay, n is called the root index, x is called the radicand. Okay, we're going to evaluate these radicals. We will rewrite them as radicals if necessary, but we're also going to learn about nth roots. Okay, so if I look at A, it says the third root of 125. If you're doing a square root, you're thinking about what you square to get the radicand. If we're doing a third root, we're thinking of what we cube or do to the third to get 125. I'm going to tell you the answer and then I'm going to show you why. The third root of 125 is 5. Okay, the reason it is 5 is because if I do 5 times 5 times 5, it equals to 125. So 5 to the third is 125. Okay, based on that, if we look at B, what do you think the fourth root of 81 is? And you kind of, yeah, you do have to guess and check, kind of. Okay, I'm guessing, yeah, 3 is a good guess. Let's test it. 3 times 3 times 3 times 3. That's 9, 9. That's 81. So the fourth root of 81 is just 3. And the more you see these, the easier they will get. Okay, the fifth root of 32. Normally, if you guess, you will guess right because it has to be even. It has to be small. So let's try 2. That's 4. 4 times 4 is 16 times 2. That's 32. So the fifth root of 32 is 2. What about the third root of 64? The square root is 64 is 8, but what do we times 3 times? It's got to be even because it's an even number. 2 times 2 times 2 is too small. 4 times 4 times 4, 16 times 4, 64. Okay, now if it's written as a fractional exponent, 8 to the 1/3, I'm going to rewrite it this way. So 8 to the 1/3 is the same as the third root of 8. And I'm going to rewrite it the third root of 8. Now what's the third root of 8? It is 2 because 2 times 2 is 4 and then 4 times 2 goes back to 8. Okay, again, this is a fractional exponent. Fractions mean roots. So 36 to the 1/2 is the second root of 36. Okay, now when you do a second root, you don't have to put the 2 here. If there's no 2, we assume it's a 2 and it's a square root. So the square root of 36 is just 6 because 6 times 6 is 36. Okay, now that you're getting the hang of nth roots, we're going to add more to our exponents. Okay, we're going to do rational exponents. Remember, rational is just fraction. So if it says x to the m over n, remember if it's 1 over n, that's an nth root. So this is really saying the nth root of x, and I'm going to raise it to the m power because the m is a normal exponent. Now, whether you put the m on the outside or the inside, it doesn't make a difference. It's just a matter of which one's easier in this situation. Normally, it's easier to root it and then raise the answer to a power, unless it's something that doesn't have a nice answer. So let's try this first. We're going to rewrite it in radical form and then evaluate. Okay, 25 to the 3/2. It's a fraction. Okay, the number at the bottom is going to tell me the root. So I'm going to do the root first. So this is saying the square root of 25. And I don't need to put the 2 if it's a square root. Okay, now what's left over? I still have that little 3 there. Okay, that's a normal exponent because it's at the top. Okay, so since it's a normal exponent, I'm going to take my answer and raise it to the third power. 25 to the 3/2 is the square root of 25 raised to the third power. What's the square root of 25? 5. And I raise it to the third power. 5 times 5 is 25. 25 times 5 is 125. Okay, let's try B. It's 8 to the 5/3. Because my exponent is a fraction, immediately I think root. Okay, what's the index of the root? So the bottom number is your index. So this is going to be the third root of 8. Okay, after I get the root, I'm going to raise it to the 5th power. Okay, what's the third root of 8? It is 2 because 2 times 2 times 2 is 8, and then raise it to the 5th power. Oh, 2 times 2, what is that? I know that's 8. This is 4. 8 times 4, 32. Okay, I'm going to keep going. If you're starting to get the hang of it, go ahead. Okay, 36 to the 3 halves. Because the exponent is a fraction, I know there's going to be a root. The bottom number tells me the root index. Okay, so this is going to be a second root of 36 or a square root. I don't need to write the index, but I can if I want. Okay, after I do the root, I'm going to raise it to the third. Equals square root of 36, 6 to the third. Okay, now if you have a calculator and you want to put 6 to the third in, you can. It's not that I mind you using a calculator. It's that I don't want you to do the whole problem with your calculator because you don't understand how to do roots. Okay, I got 216. Okay, and if you do use your calculator, as long as you're showing your step, it's okay. Okay, 81 to the 3/4. Exponent is a fraction. Bottom number is the root index. So the 4th root of 81. And then after I do the 4th root of 81, I'm going to raise it to the 3rd power. Okay, 4th root of 81 is actually 3. And I'm going to raise it to the 3rd. And then 3 times 3 is 9, times 3 is 27. Let's try 27 to the 1/3. Okay, what's the index? It's a 3. So I know I'm doing 3rd root of 27. Is there oh, there's no number at the top except 1, so I'm only doing the root. So that's 3. Okay, now let's do 1 to the 8/5. And if you think you know the answer, you probably do know the answer, but I'm going to show the steps for people who might not know it. Okay, bottom number tells me the root index. So 5th root of 1. I didn't write that really well. My index needs to be inside the little tail. Okay, and then I'm going to raise the answer to the 8th. Now the 5th root of 1 is just 1. 1 to the 8th is 1 times 1 times 1 times 1, which is still 1. So if you initially looked at that and said, well, 1 to the anything is 1, you're right. You could have just written 1. Okay, now we're going to add one more exponent property, which we actually already know. Okay, if you have a negative exponent makes a fraction. So x to the negative p equals 1 over x to the p. Okay, we're going to add this to what we just learned about rational exponents, and then we're going to try to do some mixed up simplification. Okay, I'm going to look first here. This is a negative exponent. Negative exponent means fraction. So I'm going to rewrite this as 1 over 6 to the second, which is 1 over 6 times 6, 36. That's my answer. Okay, negative exponents are fractions. Fractional exponents are roots. Okay, now let's look at 49b. 49 raised to the negative 1/2. Okay, if there's a fraction, I'm going to take care of the fraction first. There is a fractional exponent. The bottom number tells me the index. So I'm going to start with that. So this is the square root of 49. Okay, now what's the exponent? It's just 1, which doesn't matter, but the negative does matter. So I'm going to raise it to the negative 1. Okay, so the square root of 49 is 7 raised to the negative 1. Negative exponents mean fractions. So this is going to make it 1 over 7. Let's go up to C, 32 to the negative 2/5. Because it's a fraction, root. And I'm going to do the root first. So I'm going to do the 5th root of 32. Okay, after I do the 5th root, then I'm going to worry about the exponent, which is the negative 2. Okay, so the 5th root of 32 is what? It's 2. So 2 to the negative 2. Okay, negative exponents mean fractions. So this is 1 over 2 squared, which is 1/4. Okay, so really do these step by step. I think I need more space here. I'm going to write it below it then. Okay, 9 to the 3 halves. There's a fractional exponent. Let's look at the bottom first. That's going to be my root. Okay, so I'm going to do second root of 9, or the square root of 9. Okay, then I'm going to do the exponent, raising it to the 3. So that's going to be, what's the square root of 9? 3 to the third. 3 to the third. 3 times 3 is 9 times 3, 27. Okay, let's look at E. 125 raised to the negative 1/3. There's a fraction. Take care of the root first. So that's the third root of 125 raised to the negative 1. What's the third root of 125? 5. Negative 1. Negative exponent means fraction. 1/5. Okay, F. 4 to the negative 2. There's no fraction, so there's no root. Negative exponent means fraction. Okay, let's look at this one. G, 4 to the positive 1/2. Okay, there's a fractional exponent, that means root. So I'm going to square root the 4. Okay, and then I'm going to raise it to 1. Raising to 1 does nothing, so I'm just going to do the square root of 4, which is 2. Okay, now you're going to carefully do the practice problems. Show your steps. If there's a fractional exponent, do the root first, and then remember, fraction means root, negative exponent means fraction. Okay, unpause when you're ready to check. Okay, here's the answers for 1 through 6. Okay, make sure you showed your steps. And if you find a mistake, try to figure out where you made your error. Okay, pause. And then when you're ready to check the next ones, unpause. Okay, go ahead and check your answers for the last ones. Okay, and then for 10, 11, 12, just be careful with your fractions. You can apply the square root to the entire fraction or to the top and bottom individually, and it does not make a difference. It's whichever way is easier for you.